Her policies include free child care, a minimum wage of $20 an hour.
Oh, the horror. Can you believe it? $20 an hour and free child care. MAGA Maria can't fathom the government spending money on the general welfare. What she doesn't realize is that attitude is exactly why even people on her side aren't buying it anymore. And I think she knows it, based on the subtle fear you can hear behind her voice as she tries to tell us that gold doesn't shine.
Socialist Democrat Francesca Hong is running for governor in your state. She's been endorsed by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Her policies include free child care, a minimum wage of $20 an hour, publicly owned grocery stores, obviously increasing taxes on the rich and the highest earners. And she wants to ban the construction of data centers. Congressman, your thoughts?
Well, the Democratic primary for governor in the state of Wisconsin mirrors Democratic primaries in my congressional seat and others across the country. Radical Democrats are moving further and further to the left, and that's where the base of the Democratic Party is. You can look no further than the mayor of New York City to recognize where the base of the Democrats are. And so it's these types of policies that we're working against, and we need to make sure that we're out there working through this midterm to overcome these types of radical Democratic proposals.
There is nothing that these bloodthirsty ghouls hate more than a child getting a free lunch. Fox wants their very reactionary audience to start targeting Francesca Hong the same way they do Ilhan Omar. Just look at the slew of MAGA anger that Hong received following Omar's endorsement. When Ilhan Omar threw her weight behind Francesca Hong, Hong's progressive base cheered, but she also received a flood of angry and sometimes obscene messages on social media. They do this to try to make it seem like being a progressive means walking a dangerous path. And they're right, in a way, not because we're scared of them, but because when people actually hear what we have to say, they tend to like it. And no amount of hushed tones and side eyes are going to make an endorsement from Ilhan Omar feel like a curse.
Ilhan Omar of Minnesota backed Francesca Hong, who is a Democratic representative from Madison. She aligns with the Democratic Socialists sort of platform. And so she's one of the further left candidates, obviously getting the backing of a further left member of Congress. And this really caught her attention for sort of a double-edged reason, right? That can really signal where Hong stands here in Wisconsin. But of course, Ilhan Omar has plenty of people who don't care for her in the Republican and sort of conservative side of things. And so looking towards the general election, I'm curious what it'll mean to have some of these more divisive endorsements. But right now, it's also really interesting for a big national figure with a lot of media attention, social media attention, to be throwing her weight behind a candidate in the Wisconsin governor's election.
If there's one thing that we know is that if the right wing is afraid of something, that means that it's the right thing to do. Sticking together and elevating each other, like with Hassan having her on his stream, is the only way that progressives and democratic socialists can survive the onslaught of attacks from both the far right and the not-so-distant right. Because for some reason, almost all centrist Dems aren't so keen on the idea of, taxing billionaires. At least they don't speak about it as clearly and passionately as Francesca does here.
Translate your beliefs and your agenda to more rural voters or to independents who maybe just are unclear of what democratic socialist means and what your agenda is. How do you make that connection?
Taxing the rich is wildly popular. And I think that we've had, a little bit of an elitism problem, even within the Democratic Party and the left. And when I talk to folks, I was just in Wisconsin Rapids about taxing the rich, about ensuring that money from the state is going to help pay for the potholes and the roads and their local governments that desperately need more funding to be able to provide essential services to EMS and fire. When we talk about government holding large corporations accountable, like the data centers that are being proposed in places like Wisconsin Rapids, and now even in poor neighborhoods in North Milwaukee, I think there is a genuine concern, and people are tired of their government being for the wealthy and not for the working class people. And the policies that are rooted in democratic socialism are ones that distribute wealth more equitably and ensure that we have a democratic process and democratic community control.
It's no coincidence that it's the progressive candidates that Fox and MAGA are working overtime to demonize. They don't want their pea-brained audience to accidentally wake up from their brainwashing and hear just even a snippet of what these candidates have to say. Because if they hear the truth of what the left is actually offering, they would absolutely find themselves saying, hey, you know what? I'm a democratic socialist too. Hey, they might even subscribe to this channel. I know that because they were very upset about a tax relief package that didn't pass in Wisconsin.
A fight over your tax money. The latest poll finds most of the states supported a bill offering tax rebate checks.
It would also have given more state reimbursement to special ed programs across Wisconsin. Jason Calvi joining us in the studio, digging into the numbers. They didn't just want it, they really wanted this.
Yeah, I mean, this was overwhelming, Ted. Any of Wisconsin's estimated budget surplus now won't be spent. That means no tax rebate checks. That means no boosts of special education reimbursement for districts across the state. That means you'll still have to pay state income tax on tips and overtime.
People have every right to be upset. Of course they want relief. They want it so bad that they're willing to trust the same shady politicians that gave them the bad deal that they have now. That's why we need real principled people like Francesca, who's actually going to dive into the numbers and tell us what's going on. As you'll hear, the classic tricks that we all know and hate are being utilized in Wisconsin.
And let's talk about the $870 million tax rebate, up to $300 for individuals, $600 for couples filing jointly. And that might sound pretty good, but the fine print, the rebate is tied to your net tax liability. If you didn't owe Wisconsin income tax in 2024, you get nothing. That means that 1.36 million people, Wisconsin adults, nearly 1 in 3 adults, would have received $0. And many are seniors on Social Security, and many are working class families who simply didn't owe the state any income tax. And there was no income cap. So millionaires and billionaires, they're getting that rebate check. So we've spent over $870 million cutting out the people who need dollars and relief the most, while cutting checks to those who need it the least. And that's not real relief. That's a wealth transfer. And I want fully funded schools. I want real relief for working class families and our seniors. We've already put forward legislation that actually delivers more for less and more equitably. I didn't vote no on relief. I voted no on a bad deal because Wisconsin, you all deserve a good one. I'll keep fighting until we get there.
69% of people in Wisconsin say they wanted this bill passed because they want relief so bad that they're willing to take a bad deal. But they need good deals, and we need less of this doublespeak capitalist bullshit and more direct relief, access to resources, community support, protected funding, not just carrots on sticks.